Stellantis needs a new CEO. Nobody has yet come forward. I'm old, but if they open up the ring, I've got my hat ready to throw in. While Ford built an iconic model range known worldwide, and General Motors has essentially contracted over the years to become essentially American-born and bred, Stellantis tried to straddle a pond with successful historic brands in both Europe and the States. Now, the new CEO candidate, if ever they can find one, has to be able to identify where their market lies, something that Carlos Tavares, a European and the previous CEO, failed to do. Can the likes of Chrysler, Ram and Dodge succeed alongside Vauxhall, Fiat and Citroën? Is there room even for Opel and Vauxhall? It'll be a brave man who makes those decisions. I'm Dave. This is Dave Takes It On. Well, Stellantis was only formed in 2021 in Amsterdam from a collection of previously successful car manufacturers from both sides of the Atlantic. Several dated back over 100 years. Not only did Tavares have to link both sides of the Atlantic, but he also had to try to incorporate vastly different EV technologies, targets and ambitions, from absolutely zero interest and progress from the likes of Ram, who still to this day do not have an EV, to Vauxhall, which already had the wholly unsuccessful Vauxhall Corsa EV before Stellantis even came into existence. His task was just about impossible before it even began. Well, the situation now, 4 years later, is far from more serious, even dire. Billions of dollars and euros later, and with many of the ICE businesses themselves now in partial or total collapse, the harsh reality is that many of the group will not exist 12 months from now, and those that do will be very different. American policy seems to be heading firmly down the ICE route, but the new tariffs are going in the opposite direction and harming them disproportionately. In contrast, despite all that Trump and Musk can do, full BEVs are actually booming and are likely to do so for the rest of the year. I know you EV haters don't want to hear it, but BEVs, that's 100% battery car sales, are booming in 2025. It might be just people trying to get in quick before the IRA tax break is removed, or for totally different reasons, but sales are actually racing away. European policy seems also to be heading down the BEV route at the expense of both ICE and hybrids, with increasingly harsh penalties for missing targets, and there's now talk of subsidies to help ailing European BEV manufacturers, although many of them did hit their targets in 2024 after a last-minute scramble, and many are now very confident of doing so in 2025. The UK, with a new Labour government, brought forward the date to 2030 when ICE-only new car sales would be banned. Unlike the EU, the UK has not and will not impose tariffs on Chinese imports of EVs. So despite having among the highest tax rate for new cars in Europe, they will enjoy some of the best prices for new Chinese EVs if the tariffs in the EU do proceed, making the UK the fastest growing EV adoption country in Europe. Well, for the confused among you, the UK is physically within the borders of Europe, but a few years ago voted with Brexit to pull out of the European Union, which is a purely political trading agreement between member states. Switzerland, Iceland, Norway and several other countries are also geographically within Europe, but not in the EU. Well, stand by in the comments section for the avalanche of, we never should have done it, to which I reply, yeah, and I never should have picked the wrong lottery numbers that once again failed to win me the jackpot. Get over it! We left 5 years and 25 days ago as I record this video. For goodness sake, how much longer are you going to tell me we shouldn't have done it? It was wrong, we were lied to, if we'd been told the truth, etc, etc. Yeah, and if my dad had died fighting in the war, I wouldn't be here. What a stupid argument. Just stop it, get over it, we did it, we're here today. With German economic woes, the UK has now become the largest new EV market within Europe, and their government is looking to increase the lead. While Norway has put them all to shame, now has the highest percentage of EV sales of any country in the world at 93%, closely followed by Sweden. But China still has the highest actual number of EVs. Stellantis must walk this tightrope between saving famous auto companies from bankruptcy and spending the last of their cash and credit making their remaining ICE business profitable while converting the rest to manufacturing EVs, which are most definitely not going away. Indeed, recent announcements from climate scientists might make this more urgent than ever. The majority of them had confidently predicted that January 2025 would be a cooler month than average, only to find the actual figure was the warmest January ever recorded, and by a frightening margin, followed very closely a few days later by another record being smashed, this time for the glacier melting rate. That had itself worried scientists around the world because 5 days previously the world's sea ice fell to its lowest or smallest levels ever recorded, satellite data showed. I know perfectly well that there are those that blame natural cycles and state that Romans grew grapes and last Wednesday in Scotland it snowed and other such nonsense. But for me, if the scientists are worried, and the governments of pretty much all of the countries around the world, with access to the best actual scientists in the world, not only seriously worried but acting on it with some degree of urgency, then I'll go along with them, rather than a burger flipper in Newcastle, or a call centre worker in Miami, or a barista in Starbucks in Detroit, who's read an article on X, or an overweight golfer from Florida who thinks he knows better but doesn't know that you can't inject bleach into a human being to kill a virus without killing the human being as well. Well, there are obvious changes for the new CEO he's going to have to make. For example, Vauxhall and Opel make largely the same cars, just with different badges. Well, that could stop. Just merge them. Citroën and DS split recently to put them back together. Or thinking bigger, the PSA Group incorporates Citroën, Peugeot, DS, Opel and Vauxhall. Just make them one. Bit like British Leyland, but hopefully more successful. Well, these and other ideas will need to be looked at. Well, the same will go for EVs. Who already has the best models? Who is the most advanced? Who's the most successful? Can we get the technology from them to those that so far have little or nothing? Can a factory in the States that is decided is not viable be converted into an EV factory that would be viable? America is desperately short of budget EVs, and the Chinese are just itching to get in from Mexico with theirs. The best-selling small cars at present in the States are the likes of Toyota Corolla, Honda Accord, Toyota RAV4. All of them foreign, many of those built in Mexico or Canada. So why not make home-built small EVs in the otherwise redundant Stellantis factories in the good old US of A? Make Jeep Avenger EVs or Fiat Grand Panda EVs. Jobs for the Americans, no tariffs. There is a market. The trouble is, time is passing. Often when a vacancy like this occurs, the right candidate is already lined up. It is a very well-paid job. Tavares was already being investigated for being probably the highest-paid CEO in the whole of Europe before he got sacked. Well, even if the job offered far less, it must still be very well paid. So why no obvious candidate? Why no appointment? Well, the obvious answer is it might be because nobody wants it. In football terms, is this like taking on a failed club that cannot be saved? Take it on and effectively you end your career as a manager. How much would you need to be paid to take on the job of closing down multiple factories, iconic brands, killing thousands of jobs and hopes and dreams? And the end result might be that Stellantis cannot actually be saved. There might not be an answer. Or the only answer might be to split it back up and let the separate brands sink or swim on their own. Other major brands like BMW or VW, they're having a bit of a rough time of it themselves, and they're so much bigger, so much richer. What hope is there? My own thoughts are that Stellantis is not able to be saved, not in the form it is at the moment. Much will have to simply go. The essential bits will have to be mixed and merged, and a very much smaller, leaner entity will emerge that will have a chance. But then the direction it takes will be critical. It has to go EV. Norway has shown the way, did it purely voluntarily, and is now a beacon for all other countries, and many are already following, particularly Nordic countries like Sweden, Denmark. China's already gone EV, and with it, the ICE market it once offered the West has now closed. Virtually gone forever. The UK ICE and hybrid market is now gone, with just a rapidly declining remnant left for another 4 years, then nothing. Europe also seems likely to end ICE and hybrid sales by 2035. The EU last year had the perfect opportunity to repeal or cancel that target when challenged by the might of the entire motor industry, claiming bankruptcy or industry collapse if the EU did nothing, and then they failed or refused to do anything at all. Any thought that it might now do so in the future is just a work of pure fiction, a pipe dream. So with the Nordic countries already gone or going, China gone or going, UK and Europe gone or going, the ICE market of the next 5 years is destined to be but a mere tiny fraction of what it once was. If the ICE industry believes that all of its existing factories can continue to make as many ICE or hybrid cars into the future as it made in the past, then it truly has finally lost the plot. The only market in the future is EV, and what a future it offers. In effect, it offers the potential to replace every single ICE car in the whole world with an EV over time. That is an absolutely huge market, almost unlimited. Is that the market that they are rejecting? And is the rapidly shrinking ICE market really the one they want to cling on to? If that is the case, I see absolutely no hope for the existing auto industry. They had their time, they had their chance. The lifeline that was thrown to them was firmly rejected. Now they're going to sink. I'm Dave. I'm ready with my hat.